This video is going to be for guys who always say they're going to do something, but then they don't do it. Not just once, but over and over. They say they're going to stop texting her. They say they're going to wake up early in the morning. They say they're going to speak up next time, but when the time comes, they don't do it. And then it just chips away at them, little by little, that quiet little shame. I know I've been there. And so today we're going to be talking about the essence of self-respect and how to have that deep self-respect and confidence in yourself as a man.
What are some signs a man doesn't actually respect himself, even if he appears to be quote-unquote successful?
It's a good question. As always, let's first define what we're talking about. Since today we're going to be diving deep into self-respect. Let's find out what respect means, right? It's a word we throw around all the time, but if I were to ask someone what respect means, we'd get probably a variety of different answers. Or they'd go, I don't know. I never really thought about it. I just know when I feel it.
Yeah.
Or when I see it or experience it.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody did something respectful.
Mm-hmm.
So what does respect mean? Usually respect is when we witness something within a person that we have within ourselves in a positive way, or we would be open to having in ourselves in a positive way. Mm. And what does that look like? That looks like, let's say that a guy finds out that someone messed with his sister for some reason. Mm-hmm. And he goes over there and, okay, here's a good example. Let's say a guy has an older sister and he's like in middle school or something, and his sister is in high school. Mm-hmm. And, he may have seen some girls like talking trash about his sister, or maybe trying to pick a fight with his sister. And so he's maybe elementary school, a little guy, and to protect his sister, he was like, running over there, charging at the girl like, hey, back off my sister, da, 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 I'll fight you. Right. And while people may go, maybe there are different ways to go about solving the problem, they'll go, but I respect it.
Right.
Why? Because the fundamental motivation or intention behind the action, people can get behind, which is make sure that you defend people who matter to you from people who are trying to attack them. Right. So the action is not what people are evaluating. They may go, the action could have been different, but I respect the intention.
Right.
And so the intention, the motivation to protect those who matter to you, even though he didn't stand a chance, is what people are saying. I respect. Mm-hmm. Now, if the case was flipped and it was a 7 foot, 350 dude trying to fight some girls, people wouldn't say I respect it. Why? Because it required no courage. There may be some level of respect, depending on how he goes about it. But respect is usually tied to some level of courageous act. Mm-hmm. Right? It's something where, you could have avoided that. You could have cowered away from that. But you leaned into it. You leaned into a risky situation. And usually the courageous behavior inspires the feeling of, I respect it.
Right.
Right. And so you could argue that respect and courage, respect is the feeling people have for others when they do something courageous. Right. Whereas admiration, which is usually kind of mixed in with respect, is the feeling that you have towards someone that has a quality in them that you don't have in yourself but would like.
Right. Okay.
Right. Or is not there, but is not as developed or proficient as you see it in someone else. So that would look like, man, Vidal is so confident, but also insecure. I love that about him, you know.
Right.
But usually it's a trait that somebody else would want, but don't quite have, or they're developing. I was like, I admire that in them. Whereas respect is that act of courage right there. In whatever capacity, there were risks to the thing you did.
Yeah.
And even if it didn't work, or even if you didn't go about it the right way, I respect the intention. The intention was courageous, even though there was a risk. So now that we've established what respect is, right? It's a quality within a person that you'd want within yourself, or have within yourself, that you want to keep and value. Then it gets to the question of self-respect.
Yeah.
So when you look in the mirror, here's a good barometer of respect. It's going to be the baseline sort of axis we're going to pivot around for this entire conversation. If you don't have a lot of respect for yourself, it means that you allow other people, and other people includes yourself. You're like, oh, well, how could I do it to myself? Well, we're talking about respecting yourself. So there are two people there, the self and the you that's respecting it.
Right.
So the this is a tricky one to explain, but I want to make sure I'm doing it the right way. When you think of yourself, right, when you generate an image of the person you are, do you want to hang around a person like you? Do you want to be surrounded by people like you?
Right.
Do you want, and the real you, the you are when no one's watching as well, do you want your son, younger brother, to emulate and mirror a man like yourself?
Right.
Do you want your younger sister, mom, niece to date a man like you? And so if their no's come up in there, oh, nope, no, I don't want my younger brother to be like me. No, I don't want my niece to date a man like me.
Right.
What you're saying is that your overall identity to yourself is one you look down on. It's one you don't want around. Right. It's one of low esteem, right? I perceive you as an overall person that should be avoided. Right? And so you perceive yourself as someone as a whole that you don't respect. And again, you can usually gauge that by, do you want to hang around guys like yourself? If it's an emphatic yes, then even in, you could be a damn killer. You're like, oh, I want to be around other killers. And so you may respect that aspect of yourself, but if you're a deceitful person, you're like, well, I don't want to be around other people that are deceitful like myself, because they might deceive me.
Right.
And so I'd have to suffer the consequences of my character flaw. And this isn't the case for being the perfect person. It's a measuring stick to evaluate the actions you do on a repeated basis, the desires you have on a repeated basis, the intentions you send out behind your actions on a repeated basis. Are those intentions, desires, and actions of a man that you'd want around you? Right. And if the answer is no, then who you actually are, who you feel you are behind closed doors, is a man you wouldn't want around you, but you're stuck with.
Dang.
And so when you're stuck with somebody that you can't, quote unquote, get rid of, what do? You only have two options. You develop yourself into a person that shows up in a way that you'd want to hang around with, or you avoid yourself through distractions, drugs, sex, porn, games. You try to put your attention everywhere else but with yourself.
Mm-hmm. Like you want to be just around self as less as possible.
Right. I don't want to have any time where I have to reflect or observe the man I am. I don't want to look myself in the eye in the mirror. Mm-hmm. I don't want to look at a particular area of my life. And so over time, and the thing about ourselves when it comes to self-respect is not our possessions and positions. More accurately, it's not who other people think we are that determines our self-respect.
Right. It's who we know we are.
It's who we think and feel we are, which is that. Mm-hmm. And so, more accurately, who we feel we are. Mm-hmm. And a way a person can test this is to go, if you just throw out a word, courageous, what emotions come up, positive or negative?
Positive.
Right. I'm courageous, positive, negative. Right.
Right.
And depending on the scale it goes, if it's like, if I say, if somebody says to themselves right now, I am trustworthy, where on the scale is that? You'll be able to gauge either you got a really negative emotion just now, right, or you got a really positive emotion. And so that's a barometer for his actual self-perception, right, his actual identity. And if he starts throwing out I am list positive traits that he'd like to be and notices that his emotions are negative or goes to the negative side of the scale, mm-hmm, whenever they're uttered, that'll give him a really good barometer of who he actually feels he is. Right. And if it's negative for a lot of the positive traits, you actually have very low self-respect, even if you are very good at performing activities that make you a lot of money, right, or to other people seem like you're somebody who respects yourself highly. It can actually be the opposite. You can have incredibly, in fact, this is typically the case, those with incredibly low self-estimates will try to correct for the low self-estimate in other people's reaction. Mm-hmm. So if I am feeling very, the example I always give is that if my name is Tommy, mm-hmm, and I know my name is Tommy, how often am I going to go around telling people my name is Tommy? Never. Right. I'm not going to go around, hey, did you know my name? How have you know? In fact, if somebody else say, your name's not Tommy, your name is Billy, and you know your name is Tommy, you're not going to be going, no, my name is Tommy. How have you know my name is Tommy? Right. You might laugh or go, okay, man, have a nice day. There would be no level of contention. Mm-hmm. However, if you're not sure your name is Tommy, if you're not quite sure or you don't believe your name is Tommy, mm-hmm, you go around and try to get everybody to say your name is Tommy for you, mm-hmm, so that you can reinforce the doubt about your identity to yourself.
Right.
And so if we take that example and we take it to somebody who needs you to know that he has money, for example, that's a very common one amongst males. Mm-hmm. When a man has a very low self-estimate, he'll try to let people who are unaffected by his cash and don't know him, he'll need for them to react to him a certain way. Right. Because when he gets the positive affirmation or the applause, good job, you're a rich guy, yes, mm-hmm, right? Or if it's a guy that's had sex with a lot of women, oh, good job, women like you. Mm-hmm. And I'm just using common male tropes. The affirmation he gets outside compensates for the deprivation he has inside.
Right.
Right. And so if he has no deprivation internally, then the external affirmation will have no effect. It'll mean nothing to him. He'll say, okay, cool, thanks. But it won't have any weight. But the man who is empty inside will always seek external affirmation. Right? And so if you see somebody that's very, I need you to know, I need you to see, I need to prove this.
Right.
It's usually because he's not quite certain of what his internal self-image is. Now, you have people who are genuinely just people of excellence, but people who are like that aren't trying to convince you to see it their way, because they know there is no other way. There is no doubt. True core confidence, true self-respect. Oh, I know who I am. When you're doubtful, you go around, you're going back and forth with people.
Right.
Give me the reaction I want. Do you know who I am? Do you know who you are? Right. So that's why you'll see guys who may have external things actually behind closed doors have very low self-respect, because they know at the core of their being, when nobody's watching, they're not a guy they'd hang around.
Right. So even in, like, would you say that that's reflected in how they, because I know you were saying, like, in the beginning that, like, it's a continuation of doing things and or saying things and not doing them. So is that the way that the self-reflection is? I mean, the not having self-respect, is that the way it's reflected?
It's all, the lack of self-respect is actually created by that rather than reflected by it.
Okay.
So trust, we think about respect, and we go back to respect is usually some form of courageous side to courage, or a trait within somebody that you'd want within yourself or you have within yourself. So one of the most fundamental things necessary for any relationship to be good, if not the most fundamental thing, is trust. Meaning
words and actions alone.
And the reason for that is that for trust to exist, things can't change. I don't know if people think about it in that way. For trust to exist, things cannot change. Meaning, I may get an update, but even in the update is the identity, right? Meaning, I used to be an iPhone 1, I'm an iPhone 2, but I'm still iPhone.
Right.
Right? I'm not a different thing completely. So trust is fundamental when it comes to respect. And trust looks like I am consistently the person I told you I was.
Yeah.
So if it was an external relationship, we can think about it in this way. You know someone who, hey bro, I'm coming by tomorrow. Tomorrow comes, they don't come. Oh, coming by tomorrow for sure. Next, come by tomorrow for sure. Next, come by tomorrow for next, and it's been 5 weeks and they haven't shown up yet.
Right.
The next I'm coming by tomorrow will be met with a yeah, bro. Right. There's no weight or trust in the word, because he's built a reputation with you that his words and his actions don't align.
Yeah.
So he's giving you an identity. He's consistently inconsistent.
Right.
And so when somebody's consistently inconsistent, you don't know who they are. You never know what you'll get, so you don't trust them. Or you can say you trust them to be untrustworthy.
Right.
And when somebody can't predict, or is like, oh, they tend to distance themselves from that person or have no respect, the feeling of a lack of respect.
Right.
So if that's possible in an external relationship, then imagine what it's like when you say you're going to do all the time and then not do it. Eventually, your own word to yourself will become weightless.
Right. Weightless words.
Weightless words. And that's where the erosion of respect comes from, because now you don't trust you. And so you're going through the world hoping, like I said in the beginning, I'm going to get up tomorrow at 5 a.m. and you're like, ugh. When the time comes, you're like, ugh. And for men in particular, because sovereignty, the ability to govern oneself, the masculine consciousness state, is really critical for men being the physical manifestation of the masculine principle.
Right.
Not keeping the word damages men far more than it damages women. Because the only reason a man doesn't keep his word typically is because he doesn't feel like it.
Mm.
It's not because of circumstance. Like sometimes that can be the case, right. But most of the times, like a circumstantial not keeping your word usually is not going to harm your self-respect that much. If you really just couldn't do it, update, hey, life happened, boom. Well, the ones that erode the self-respect is when I say I'm going to do 5 a.m. I'm getting up, 5 a.m. hits.
And you just don't feel like getting up.
Don't feel like getting up, and then you succumb.
Yeah.
And so the repeated submission to the emotion over the word is what erodes self-respect in a man. And so the moment, every time, but I just didn't feel like it. He continually submits. So his feelings are more powerful than his word. And as a man, because sovereignty is the ultimate expression of masculinity, if you're not sovereign over yourself and you continually submit to your emotion, you're unsovereign, you're unmasculine. Right? And you don't become feminine, you become something like an anti-masculine.
Okay.
It's a non-masculine state rather than a feminine state. Right? Now you can have effeminate tendencies, but it's slightly different when a man's just undisciplined doesn't mean he's feminine.
Right.
Right. Feminine is closer to going with the flow of the emotion rather than
succumbing to it.
Saying something and not doing, saying something, not doing it. Right. So the repeated submission to the emotion, and because he can never predict his emotions, that means he can never predict his submissions.
Right.
And if he can never predict his submissions, he can never predict his actions. So he's going to say something and immediately the lack of confidence will be there because he's like, I know who I am, and who I am is somebody I can't trust. And the moment that starts happening, self-respect starts to tank. And the longer he does that, he stops being able to look himself in the mirror until he rebuilds that relationship with himself.
Yeah. So with that, how does saying yes too often damage your self-respect?
Yes doesn't matter unless he's saying yes to things that he wants to say no to.
Right.
If he's saying yes too much to things he knows he should be saying no to, then his self-respect will erode for the same reason. Because the only reason he's saying yes is because of his feelings. And typically the reason he's saying yes is because of feeling of fear.
Yeah.
Right? Yes implies that something is trying to get him to do something he knows he shouldn't do, or someone is trying to get him to do something he knows he shouldn't do. And he says yes to it. Let's say it's a case where it's like, oh, there's a cookie. No, I'm not supposed to eat this cookie because I'm on a diet or I'm working out, or I said I'll dial back the calories or whatever. And he says yes to that. He's not saying yes to the cookie. He's saying yes to the weaker version of himself that he said he'd stop being. Right. If somebody said, hey, bro, let's go drink tonight, and he knows that he has something to handle in the morning, or he said he'd be focusing on his business or whatever the hell, and he'll dial it back, and he says yes to it. He says yes to it because he's saying yes to the weaker version of himself. But then there are yeses that he says because he's fearful of what the other person might think or say if he says no. And so that's cowardice. My principle, my desire, my intention, my values get subverted for being liked and accepted. And so he puts being liked and accepted in the group over his values and principles, which is to say that everybody else is more important than me. And if the relationship with yourself is that you're the least important person and your word matters the least, then it's impossible for you to look at that as a quality you'd want within yourself. So you have adopted a quality about yourself that you would never want your son, your nephew, going back to the basics. You adopted a quality about yourself that you wouldn't want guys around you to have.
Right.
Right. So that's what I'd say about that.
So how do you stop seeking validation from people who don't respect you?
Don't respect you is an interesting one, because it's like the question then becomes, how do you know somebody doesn't respect you?
Right.
Typically, when you know somebody doesn't respect you is when they're okay with treating you in a way they're not okay with being treated. Mm-hmm. Right. So if somebody doesn't respect you, you're not entitled to their respect. So that's okay.
Right.
Right. You don't go around, are you going to respect me? That's a weak move.
Yeah.
You're going around.
People do that a lot, though. They're like, oh, you going to have respect for me. How you control for that? How you going to control for another person having respect for you?
It's just needs some updating in the consciousness. That's all. It's that's almost a different video, but to touch on it here, the respect they're talking about is usually having to do with that person not reacting to them a certain way shatters their identity. Mm-hmm. Right? Their identity is very fragile, and if that person doesn't show them a certain level of respect, who they are falls apart. And so the reactions of others is what defines their identity. Mm-hmm. But when you have true self-respect, whether you react or not, you're dismissed. Yeah. There is no, I don't need you to get, it's laughable to think I need you to respect me for me to feel anything about myself. Exactly. So what am I going to do? Go to bed? I'm going to make them respect me someday. Then you're just a slave to that person for the rest of your life, because they're the only one who ever will control whether or not they respect you. Right. And so you're thinking in sleep, losing sleep, trying to garner respect from another human being when you could have just gone about your life and the respect be damned. Right. Now, if you're seeking, so I say that to say, if you're seeking respect from if you're seeking acceptance from somebody that doesn't respect you, then the question will be, why? Yeah. And I can't know the answer to that, because it's specific to the situation. But it fundamentally comes back to a lack of respect for oneself, because again, you are acting like a person you wouldn't want around you. Mm-hmm. You are showing up in a way where, like, I allow people to disrespect me and I accept it, and I still try to get them to respect me. Mm-hmm. I still try to control them by saying, if you can respect me, then I can respect myself. Mm-hmm. And so you're a puppet, right? You're a puppet that has no independent will, no independent sense of value. Mm-hmm. And all your value comes from the respect that you get from people who don't respect you. Yeah, exactly. And so your entire life will be dictated by your environment and your surrounding. Mm-hmm. And you'll constantly be seeking validation, and you'll constantly be saying, what do I need to do for you to respect me? And you become a puppet rather than an individual. Right. Mm-hmm.
So lastly, what is the biggest change you noticed in yourself when you finally respected your own word?
It's hard to say when I finally respected my own word. I can speak more to when I noticed I don't keep my word. Because I think that's a good question, because it's like, well, why is self-respect so important? Self-respect is important, not necessarily even because of your, like, trying to be the most self-respectable person. It's the same. Self-respect is modulated by integrity, and as you said, integrity is, do I keep my word? Mm-hmm. Are my actions and my words aligned? Is my life and my word aligned? Right. So the question is, why even give a damn about that? Why not just lie, steal, cheat, as long as I get what I want? Right. So what if I need validation from people? What if I need the likes? But I'm getting them, so does it matter? Mm-hmm. And it matters because you can never escape yourself, as we talked about. Mm-hmm. And so the price you pay for becoming someone you would want to be around is the the internal angst that you continually will always try to run from, like, because you can't outrun your self-image, and so you don't like you don't trust you don't respect you, and that creates a negative emotional state. And it's always there, and you can't get away from it until you correct your own behaviors to be in alignment with what you know is right. However, you can try to distract yourself from your lack of self-respect, which usually will manifest itself in vices that don't help your life.
Right.
And because of that, you'll very likely start practicing things, the porn, the drugs, the food, all these things that will push you down a direction where you're killing yourself at a faster rate.
Right.
And so the price of the lack of self-respect is very high. And for me, when I notice that my words and my actions aren't aligned, I'm very sensitive to that. I think more so than most. And the reason for that is that I understand that I in large part create my reality.
Yeah.
And if you accept that and you take full accountability and responsibility to that truth, then you also realize that I dictate who I'm surrounded by. And how do I dictate who I'm surrounded by? By who I am. For real. Not who I pretend to be. And because of that, if I continually have a North Star of showing up as a man that I want to be surrounded by, the type of man that I'd be proud to be surrounded by, the type of man that I'm not perfect, but I'm a bounce back, right? I'm always realigning. And so because of that, I don't have shame if it's like, oh, well, my younger brother wants to be like me. I don't feel shame if, somebody says it. It's not like, oh, God, if they really knew who I was, then, right. Again, it's not about perfection. It's about progression. But there's none of that shame underneath, because I'm always aiming up. I'm always facing the ugly truth about myself. I'm always upping my level of transparency. I'm always upping my level of power, strength, ability to withstand a blow, even if it makes me look bad in the short term. And that courage, that going back, that repeated courageous looking in the mirror and saying, hey, bro, you're messing up in this area, heightens my respect for myself, because I'm willing to do the hard thing and take the risk, even if I don't know what's on the other side. And when I don't do that, or when I violate that, I'm very aware of the price that I'm paying, emotionally, short term and long term. And I've made that mistake before. And with, I remember one time, a period in my life, I had just broken up with my ex at the time, years ago. And I hadn't been I'd only been with her for those few years. And so I was excited to get back on the dating market. I was like, oh, I haven't had sex with another girl in forever. And so at that point, I don't think I'd ever used any apps. I've never technically used any apps, like brief times, but nothing. I don't think I'd ever used any app or met anybody from a dating app.
Right.
So I was like, okay, let's see what the buzz is about. Let's try this out. And very quickly, I remember it was the beginning of the year. very quickly there were a variety of options, and just a complete rampage where my number one focus was getting the external validation of attractive women, through attention, sex, texts, all the things. I wouldn't have thought about it like that at the time. I would have considered that freedom, but and celebration on just a desire for beautiful women. But in that, I was neglecting all the other things that mattered. Right? I remember times where I would be going to bed at like 2, 3 in the morning because I was out with a girl the night before, and I have to be up early the next day, and that would be 4 or 5 times in a week. It'd be seeing how many of them I could meet in a short span. Like, it was just unhealthy.
Right.
And in that, I remember a moment where, because my ex and I had still lived together at this time. It wasn't a bad blood thing. So, around this point, because we were cool enough with each other, if I was bringing a girl by the house, because it was like a multi-bedroom house, if I told her, she'd be like, okay, I can head out, da-da-da-da. So she went somewhere, and she just asked not to do anything on the couch, right? Which there's plenty of room in the house. Like, there was no reason to ever do anything on the couch. But long story short, I did stuff with this girl on the couch, and it wasn't even malicious. It was just a lack of consideration, frankly. And in that lack of consideration, I just didn't bother to go upstairs. And she later found out about it, I think the next day, something like that. And I remember she asked me about it initially. I said, did you have sex with a girl on the couch? I said no, which wasn't true. I did. And this is probably the first time I'd lied. And which was funny because we had been broken up at this point for months. I'm like, I remember the guilt of that just eating me up inside. I told her the next day. And I remember feeling deeply ashamed of myself. Because I was like, it was like a wake-up call moment of, what am I doing? Like, and I remember this line saying, I haven't been a good anything to anyone in a long time. And that's around the time where the version of myself I am now, in terms of my level of sovereignty and discipline, really took to a whole new level. In terms of discipline, I went on a light celibacy, just a level of focus. It was right before summer. It was probably the most intense level of focus I'd ever, at that point, had. So much discipline, so much. But the problem wasn't the women, the problem was me, and I had to go within and face my own things to find out what was going on. And that led to a lot of the work that I'm able to help guys with today. So, one, if you're a guy who, is a loner, and you'd prefer to have situations where you're with women or a woman that you want to date, you're highly attracted to, but you just don't know how to go about it, you don't know how to start the conversations. We have a program available now, and click the link down below, book a call, we'll get on a call and see if it's the right fit for both of us. And if so, Relationhood will be able to help you out with that. That's what we're here for. And if you're a guy who's in a situation where you are already with a partner, but things have just been chaotic, and you're wondering what happened, what can I do to get it back to that harmonious place it was in the beginning, or to get her to have a level of adoration and respect for you that you've never seen before, to where she just looks up to you in a way that you probably never experienced or never experienced with that woman. Also, click the link down below. But yeah, that moment really woke me up to a level of maturity I I didn't even know was possible, and yeah, it was just a really low moment for my self-respect. And so I had to go on a journey to rebuild it. And I successfully did so, but it required a lot of discipline. Yeah. Yeah, required a lot of discipline. I've helped clients with the self-respect thing as well. It's not usually something I focus on in terms of like taking on a ton of clients for those. So if you're a guy who related with this and you're like, I need a change now, I need to make a difference in that area of my life, then you could also book in and we'll talk about what can be done to, because I do have programs for that, but it's not the focal point of this particular channel, so I don't talk about it enough. But if you really feel like you resonated with this video, you can book down below, and we'll make it happen. But yeah, at the end of the day, just never be a man that you wouldn't want around you.